The chapter begins with the fact that we are shown a huge house and then a certain apartment in which a couple is engaged in love affairs. The protagonist's name is Ko Dong-soo. He is 22 years old and he has already failed to enter the institute 3 times. And this girl is On Suk-yeon, who studies at the same college as him. They don't actually date, but she has huge cans and a cute face, so she looks like a doll that he does it with from time to time. He warned her that he was already at the limit, but she asked him to hold out even longer, but it was too late. As a result, he shot inside her. He is trying to study for the 3rd year in college, but admits that he does not care about studying. The girl warned him that today was not a safe day, and then went to the shower. He was lying on the bed and decided to smoke a little. He was thinking about why he doesn't like to study, and one of the reasons he chose is that his family is rich. He has a posh office that his parents lent him when they went abroad. After he graduated from high school, he had a bunch of friends thanks to his foreign branded car and his abundance of pocket money. In other words, he doesn't need anything in life because he will always be able to know love with a girl like Suk-yeon even without having to study. However, this life in which he could enjoy anything and anytime suddenly stopped. His mother called him and informed him that she and her father had just arrived at Incheon Airport. His parents, who are engaged in shoe sales and tourism, decided to shorten their trip to Bali and return to Korea when they heard that he had failed to enter the institute twice. He was surprised that they had already arrived, and his mother informed him that they had arrived on time and they had some luggage, so she asked them to meet them at the airport. Then the father picked up the phone and shouting asked him if he had removed what he asked him for, but he did it only partially. The father understood that his request meant nothing to him because he reminded him about it a few days ago, and he still did nothing. He started shouting at his son and the mother decided to intervene. Not wanting to listen to all this, he just hung up. It occurred to him that this was the end of his carefree life. After a while, he arrived at the airport and realized that for a while he would have to say goodbye to the fun. That's what he thought. Then he met his father and mother, but he saw someone else. Due to the fact that his parents returned, he had no idea that it would be much more fun than before when they were gone. He saw 2 beautiful ladies and was surprised. Then we see a shot of the maid telling the father of the family that he can't do it, but he tells her that everything is fine. The protagonist watched the whole picture and could not take his eyes off what he saw. My father cheated on my mother with a maid. The girl told him that he promised that they would not do it again, but he told her that this was not the first time. He asked her to remember who pays for her daughter's education. He started caressing her and told her to call him cute while his wife was not at home. She was his wife. At first he got very angry and realized that he was cheating on mom all the time and even wanted to break into the room. But then looking at the maid restraining her desire while his father was pestering her, for some reason he didn't have anger inside, but he was very excited looking at it. He started licking her and she couldn't take it anymore. The maid's mature body is just like in his dreams. The protagonist understood that it was much better than he had imagined. Then he accidentally dropped the phone and thought they might have heard it. But no, they were too busy with their own business. Taking the phone in his hands, he understood that they were doing something wrong. So why was he so nervous? At that moment, a great idea came to his mind. He decided to record everything on video. With it, he can force the maid to spread her legs in front of him. He was a little angry that initially she behaved like a nun, and now she is doing it with his father and calls him cute. The next day, Dad and the maid behaved as if nothing had happened. She was cooking, and he was reading the newspaper at the table. Dong-soo joined them and started eating, but it didn't last long. She suggested he try it. The protagonist realized that every time he saw the maid, she reminded him of the scene he witnessed last night. He could barely contain himself. Finally, his father, leaving, said that he would stay late today so the maid could leave early. Dong-soo was glad to be alone with the maid. Her father left and she was a little sad. When he went downstairs, he asked her if her father had left, to which she agreed and added that he would be late. Also that he would be having dinner alone, so she could cook something special. But he didn't know what he wanted. Instead, he asked her to come up to his room for a minute. He didn't understand a little what he was asking for. Her hand tightened and he thought it was a woman's instinct. Tension with sudden silence, she followed him and he invited the housekeeper, who was very nervous, like prey chasing away a predator. She asked him if there was anything he would like her to do. He noticed that she was nervous and it was cute. The sight of her aroused him even more, but he remained calm. The victim is still dangerous when she is vigilant. He admitted that there is nothing complicated here. He showed that his room is in a mess, so it really needs cleaning. He made her relax with his fake excuse. Dong-soo added that it was not urgent, so if she was busy, she could do it later. But the maid replied that everything was fine and got to work. After a few minutes, the tension she had against him quickly eased. He was glad that she had let her guard down just because of stupid excuses. He locked the door while she was busy cleaning the room and stared at her body, which was now completely defenseless. He thought her buns were damn tight. He was close enough to touch her and decided to act. He felt nervous and excited as he slowly approached her. He sat down next to her and wrapped his arms around her waist. The warmth of her body tickled his fingers. He offered to help her, but she wanted to do everything herself. The protagonist noticed that her voice was shaking and he insisted that he just wanted to help. He put his hand on hers and felt her body tremble. He assumed it was fear because she couldn't take his hand away. Feeling more confident, he reached into a more private area. However, she got up and told him that she would go. She wanted to cook fruit while he was studying. She tried to open the door, but did not come out. She turned to him and he held the door and started twisting her hair. He noticed that she smelled very good and the maid asked him not to do it. He put his hand in her pants and asked what not to do. He kept lowering his hand. She asked him to stop and said that if he didn't stop now, she would have to tell his parents everything. He just smiled and asked her if she was threatening him. He took out his phone and showed her a video of her doing it with his father. She was just in shock. Dong-soo asked her what it looked like and smiled again. Her eyes were trembling when he questioned her. He asked her if she understood what kind of situation she was in. He had her cornered. He asked what would happen when his mother saw this video, but the girl was horrified and only managed to say no. The protagonist noticed that she began to tremble and then she fell to her knees. She asked him not to tell her mother because she had no choice. She asked him with tears in her eyes and he asked her to tell her in more detail. The sight of her crying brought him a strange feeling of pleasure. She explained that his father had told her that she would only get a job if she did as he said. She begged him not to tell his mom. He ducked down and told her not to be afraid, as if he was trying to calm her down. He won't tell anyone while she's doing what he's saying and asked if she understands what he's driving at. He got up and went to the bed. Dong-soo sat down on the bed and said that there was no need to be afraid of her. He hid his nervousness and pretended that nothing had happened. He told her that he was not like his father. He did not want to threaten her. It's just going to be her choice. If she listens to him, he won't tell his mother. Then he invited her to sit next to him, which she didn't willingly, but did. She looked as if she was hesitating. However, the housekeeper quickly approached him and sat down next to him. He stared at her huge melons and was very happy. Her body, which he dreamed of. His heart was beating out of his chest, just because she sat next to him. He gently placed his hand on her hip and her body shuddered. But she did not resist or fight him off. Gaining confidence, he slowly began to lick her neck. He slowly laid her down on the bed. He ordered her to call him Your Highness from that moment on, and without hesitation she said it. Her face looked resigned. He put his finger to her lips and ordered her to lick them. He did everything gradually. Her tongue slowly wrapped around his fingers. Even though it was just a finger, she licked it as if it was his banana. While she was focusing on his finger, his other hand came closer to her dumpling and he touched it. Her legs shuddered in reflex and he ordered her to open her legs. She covered her face with her hand and did it. She carefully opened her legs. Her dumpling was revealed. He slowly moved his hands, feeling her whole. He could feel her trembling in his arms. Instead of resisting, she bit her lips. Seeing her reaction, he decided to be more courageous. He lifted her t-shirt a little and decided to lick her belly and slowly rolled up her underwear. Her cans popped out with tight clothes, her beautiful tan skin and her lush, elastic cans. He started massaging them as if he was obsessed with them. He pulled her by the whistle and brought his lips close to her can and began to lick them hard. She started to tremble and her pants started to get wet, and his pants expanded to the limit. He ordered her to take off her clothes again. She hesitated, but still decided to do it, and she took off her t-shirt and underwear. Her clothes fell one by one before his eyes, and finally the housekeeper was completely naked in front of him. He could no longer resist his excitement and took out his enraged banana. She looked very surprised looking at his throbbing banana. He asked her if his banana was better than his old father's. She looked away to avoid eye contact with him. He ordered her to come closer and she cautiously approached him and lowered him to her knees. He told her that his banana is like this because she is very beautiful, and therefore she needs to do something to calm him down, namely lick. After listening to him, she started doing it and he was over the moon with happiness. Her mouth was warmer and tighter than he thought. He grabbed her by the hair and began to enjoy the sensations of her lips on his banana. She inserted it completely into her mouth. This is an incredible pleasure that he could never even imagine with other girls. The housewife didn't even think about how wide she spread her legs when she enjoyed his banana. He grabbed her by the hair to maximize his sensations. But at that very moment, the doorbell broke the moment of his climax. A mother came into the house, calling for her son and Anita. She returned earlier than expected. The mother was surprised that no one was home. Then I went down very quickly and asked her how she went. The mother was surprised that Anita was at home. He sent her downstairs on purpose in such loose clothes. It was her plan to enslave her forever. The mother explained that she had a little work to do today, so she came earlier than expected. She asked to hand over her bags to take care of them, and her mother thanked her and immediately asked what she was doing on the second floor. She looked confused by the question from his mom. The mother didn't understand what she was doing with such enthusiasm that she didn't even hear the doorbell ring. She didn't know what to answer and could only mumble. Then Dongsu appeared, who said that his room was a little dirty, so he asked her to clean it. He was standing next to her in case she said something unexpected. He also slowly understood her clothes to put even more pressure on her. He started massaging her bun so that his mom wouldn't notice it. He considered her his, and it was better for her not to think about a way to get out of this. She couldn't say a word and her face turned red. He asked his mother how much she had bought and how much bolder it was to move to her womb. She bought things for Ananda and Cecilia and said that she loved to buy something delicious and treat them when they were in Indonesia. When he opened her dumpling, her love juice began to flow from her. His fingers entered her as deeply as possible. She was unrealistically wet. She rested on the table and began to moan. At the same time, her mother asked her if everything was fine with her, but she replied that she was fine. The mother added that she can go to rest if she is not feeling very well, because she has been working very hard lately. But the girl assured that everything was fine with her and that there was no need to worry about her. Then his mom fell asleep very quickly. Most likely, she is very tired from traveling for work. The girl checked that her mother was asleep, while Dongsu hugged her in full. He brought Anita to his mom's room on purpose. He kissed her neck and stuck his hand into the dumpling. When he pulled out his fingers, they were completely wet. He said she was gorgeous. He never thought she would get so wet in front of his mother. She admitted that it was all because of his hands. Anita called him the master and he grabbed her by the hair and pulled her to him. He told her that she should call him by another name. And she apologized, and he added that Anita had smeared his hand, so she had to make it clean, which she started to do. She was doing it and he called her a smart girl and a good girl. As she licked his fingers, he took the banana out of his pants. His banana started to shudder in anticipation. The girl asked not to do it here. She tried to leave, but he lifted one of her legs and thereby prevented her from escaping. She was panicking because she was afraid that his mother would wake up. But he only answered her again so that she wouldn't call him master. He slipped his banana between her legs and said it didn't matter, because now he was slowly going to make her his slave. He stuck his furious banana right into her dumpling. Her eyes widened. The pleasure of her dumpling he felt with his whole body. Her wet dumpling was slowly tightening his banana. He understood that it was a masterpiece, because his banana could feel it melting. He started gently shaking her waist to feel her dumpling even more. He could feel all the inner tenderness of her dumpling every time he did that. The housekeeper also looked like she was slowly starting to enjoy it. Her dumpling started to shudder and she started to moan. He understood that she was becoming a little more honest with him, because he could hear her moans, but she denied everything. She rejected his words and covered her mouth with her hands so that the moan would not slip from her lips. He started shouting at him that she was lying, because she was happy with his father's banana, and now she rides his son's banana. She couldn't even contain her excitement. Her dumpling is like a waterfall. She likes to do it near his mom's room. He uttered immoral words to further influence her, but she continued to deny everything. Because of her lies, he grabbed her by the hair. He also took the cans and added that if she lied to him, he would teach her a lesson. When she fixed his ego, he began to do it more intensively with her. He asked Anita how she was feeling and if she was still going to deny it. Her eyes began to lose focus. The guy asked her not to lose her head, because he is just starting. He started rubbing her weak spot while they were doing it. He clarified to her that she was now his slave. Her excitement became louder. He ordered her to stick out her tongue and he took her chin and they kissed. She said that he was her majesty and the protagonist realized that she had given up. He asked her to repeat it, because he didn't hear her a little. They joined their tongues and her thick saliva mixed with his in his mouth. Her dumpling began to tighten his banana even more, and soon there was a sense of the end. He said that he would finish now and he decided to do it inside her. She said if he kept going so hard, then she would. But the guy could no longer restrain himself and he shot inside her. From these sounds, the mother woke up and got out of bed, and when she went to the door to open it, she noticed only liquid under the door.